Wow, guys, talk about the universe corresponding to your song. This is a Fox 8 News Cleveland posting on Instagram, where of course I've been kind of stalking it lately to see what all of the soldiers of love are doing for Michael Jackson's death hoax. And look what I came upon here. We got a monarch butterfly hanging on to a sunflower. Talk about irony, right? This is prayers from Maria. Stunning prayers from Maria. Thank you, Julie Holland, for providing Maria's Field of Hope at Cedar Point with over a dozen monarchs. All monarch butterflies were tagged so we can track their journey. If ever there was a creature full of hope and miracles, it is the monarchs. Look at this. Wow. Now, this isn't a clue, nothing like that. It's just something I wanted to share because I really do believe that everything is in alignment. And, it's like sometimes when I'm going somewhere, I'll get in somebody's car and what do you know? They're playing Michael Jackson on the radio, or I'll go somewhere in a public place, same thing, or I'll see something, or somebody will mention something, and it just kind of falls in line with the death hoax and what I believe and what I know, and it's just fascinating to me. So I believe that you get signposts when you're on the right track and when you're doing the right thing in anything you do in life, not necessarily with just the death hoax, but with anything. So when you're on the right track, you get signposts. And I don't know if any of you know that I lost somebody 13 years ago who meant a lot to me. His name is Dave, and he was murdered actually. He was the love of my life, and we had such a strong connection, and we still do. And I've experienced some very unusual events since he died. From that week that he died till even to this day, his birthday was February 22nd, and I see 222 everywhere, and I could go on for days telling you stories about the things I've seen. And I see 222, it shows up in almost everything I do. I sell online, it'll show up in a transaction. It'll be the time on the clock when I look in the morning, in the afternoon, or either 12 222, or it'll just be in so many things. So again, it's like the universe corresponding to your song and giving you signs. And I also had something happen very strange days after David had died. An acquaintance of mine, she was actually a bus driver of a little minibus that was like a community minibus. And at the time, I was living in an area where, it circulated around in Lakewood. It was called a circulator, actually. And I'd go shopping, and she would drop me off in front of my apartment. And I could carry all my groceries up. I didn't have to drive. So anyway, we became friendly, and we became friends, and we were talking. And so the weekend that David was supposed to be moving into my new place, because I had moved, and we were talking about it, and he had died that Friday night, but she had never met him, never laid eyes on him before. And she had some kind of psychic ability, I don't know, and I read cards and stuff too. So it was the weirdest thing. The week that he passed, I got on the circulator one night, and she's like, I have something to tell you. And I'm like, what? She says, I've got a message for you from Dave. And I'm like, what? And she's like, I've never heard anything so clear in my life, but he wanted me to tell you this. And when she gave me the message, it just totally blew my mind. I'm like, there is no way in the world that this woman could possibly know this. And she did. And it was just like, what? Also, when I was sitting on there with her, she took a picture of me. The picture looked normal, and then hours later, we looked at the picture again, and there was a white light by my head. And she's like, you know what that is, don't you? I'm like, yeah, some kind of orb. And she's like, yeah, he's with you. So again, you never know what life is going to bring. There's so many things we don't understand, and Anyway, I'm a very firm believer in things falling into place in the universe, giving you signs. And I also know that once people pass over, they can hear you. And he knew that her giving me that message kind of saved my life. It just lifted this weight off of me that I can't even explain. And I know to this day he's always with me. I'm going through something, he'll give me a sign, he'll show up. We've got our code number and his name. I see people, I've never seen anybody look like him before. Very attractive guy, very extremely, I don't know if you guys have seen him, his picture posted on my Facebook, but never seen anybody look like him before. Now it seems like at any given moment when I've got something heavily on my mind or him, I will see someone that looks like him and I do a double take like, what? You know? Matter of fact, one time I was looking up something on Michael Jackson's death hoax and I came across this tape, and it was an Arab thing where they were asking some people in the street what they thought about Michael and his death. And two people were in it that talked, nothing unusual, right? But at the end, there was this guy who walked down the street. And they didn't interview him, but he looked exactly like Dave. And it just floored me. I looked at that video for hours. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And it was like, wow, right in the midst of me doing something else that I'm passionate about, I see this. And it just stopped me. It stopped me dead in my tracks. So you never know what's coming your way. And there's some things in life that just can't be explained, right? Like this moment, I was just going through Instagram and I came across this monarch butterfly and happened to be sitting on a sunflower, Michael Jackson's favorite flower. And on his birthday, by the way, happy birthday, Michael. If you're still visiting my channel, which I'm sure you do, you've been following me for 10 years. I found out after the fact, after I realized who you were, and even in the name changes that you've had on Twitter and everything else. I know you've been following me because I did know about the death hoax just like, I think, days after the announcement. I wasn't quite buying the announcement. I didn't cry. I was shocked. I was just like, what? Michael dead? What? I mean, I remember when TMZ made the announcement and I was totally floored. I'm like, I was just frozen in my tracks again. I get caught off guard in these moments that I'll never forget, where I'm just frozen and I can't believe what I'm seeing, hearing, whatever. And it's just like, those were one of those moments. And I wasn't quite buying that Michael was gone. It's just something was nagging at me. From the moment I heard it, I'm like, well, this just doesn't feel right. But I'm a person who gets feelings. I'm very intuitive, so I do know things that other people don't just because I have that ability. But it's not the way you can really explain it. It's not like you could say, okay, what's my whatever, and I can answer you. That's not how it works. People don't understand psychic ability. They really don't. But, it's like messages from God. It just, like something's whispered in your ear. They call it clear audio when you can hear things and figure things out. So I guess I have a little bit of that. And when I was younger, I was terrified of it. And the more I tried to run away from it, guess what happened? The universe kept sending me people who would bring it up. I kept meeting these people with these abilities, and they're like, you've got it too. And you're afraid, you push it away, you deny it, whatever. And I was. And I'm like, why? Why me? Okay. And I'm like, some people are just chosen. I guess I was just chosen. Now, I wish I could just use that and figure out this comeback date. But I know we're on the verge of it. And I know you guys want to know. And I don't know. I have an idea. My mind keeps going back to the same thing. But I'm not going to put it out there because, he said he was going to do this in his own time. And it's his life. And it's his business. And it's on his own time. And we're fortunate enough that he decided to share this adventure with us. So I respect that. You can do what you want to do, Michael Joe Jackson, because it's your life. It ain't my life. I'm just a participant in this thing. Um, Not quite by invitation at first, but maybe now with my connection with you and conversations and messages, what have you. And, it's been an interesting journey. It really has. I've learned a lot about you. I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about people and human nature. I've learned about fear, my own fears, other people's fears, and the things that they do because of their fears. So it's just definitely been a learning experience, and it's going to continue to be so. I can't wait to see how things are going to turn out, the aftermath of your return. Only thing I'm certain of in all of this is that you will be returning because all of your clues have indicated and you've said you're going to. You just won't give us when. And that's fine. That gives us something to do, something to figure out. And trust me, if anybody's going to figure it out, I'm going to figure it out. And I know you're kind of short with me sometimes because, not short with me, but kind of intimidated to talk to me because you know I've got something. Yeah, I do. I don't have an agenda, but I do want to figure this out. And you know I have the ability to figure this out because I've shown you what I can do with my clue hunting and decoding and whatnot. So let that be what it is. Okay, and as far as that chat room stuff, I found that tape. What I do, guys, I find what's out here in reference to and related to this death hoax, be it a celebrity posting, someone else is posting, um, any kind of unusual activity that may or may not be related but looks like it could be, any kind of media postings, be they movies, articles, or just the OGs, the people that, from the Army of Love that we know for sure have been there from day one, like the memorial, what have you. So, that's what I do. And if I show you guys a video of Michael or somebody like Michael dancing, I'm just putting it out there to let you see what's going on in the moment that it's happening or after the fact, whatever it happens to be. I'm not making any claims that it is or isn't Michael. That's up for interpretation by you, by other people, by hints, clues, indications, whatever. But I'm still going to showcase what's out there, regardless. And then for my end of it, not only do I like to give you information, but I also like to entertain. I am a singer. I do perform. I have performed with international and national acts like Toto. So, I do have some ability. Sometimes I fool around. I get on the karaoke sites and, I'll do funny little mock type of things. Or sometimes I'll sing seriously or not too seriously. I always said when I was performing with my band that there's songs I can sing and then there's songs I like because people will come up who really like you and they're like, oh God, you're a great singer. Can you do such and such? Can you sing like Respect or whatever? And it's like, well, I don't know. I mean, either because I've never attempted or I guess as a singer, you really do know what kind of music or what kind of song you're suited to do. Doesn't mean you can't try something new. It just, everybody knows what their limitations are. I don't like to think that I'm limited in any way. I will make an attempt, but I can't promise it'll be perfect. But I am kind of a perfectionist, so I like to put out what I consider quality. If it's got my name on it and or I'm performing it, I want it to be the best. I am my own worst critic, okay? That's just how I am. Maybe I have that in common with Michael. I know he kind of beats himself up when things aren't, in his eyes, perfect. I don't think I'm to that extreme, but I do expect the best from myself as well as others. But, we're all humans, so sometimes you gotta just give yourself a break, right? So that's that. But anyway, I wanted to share this, talk to you guys a little bit. We thought maybe today might be a BAM. It could still be. The day's early. I'm in Eastern time zone right now. California, 3 hours ahead. So, 6, 5, 4 is only 3:30 ish there. And I thought if Michael did something tonight, whether he's in France or wherever he is right now, can't say, but might do something at about 7:33 tonight. Why? Because that's the time he was born. And we got butterfly theme here, rebirth, reincarnation, and what better day to be reborn than on your birthday? And of course, today was the opening for the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, and you know, we've had a galaxy theme since the Memorial and on the Escape album, and Michael was wearing the galaxy suit. And also, they had the rings around his neck. Now, those are the rings of Saturn. And if you don't know, right now we're in a Saturn period. So, with that being said, and this being the month of August, which is the number 8, and if you turn the 8 sideways, what do you have? You have the infinity symbol. Now, I showed you guys that. When Janet released the song that gave away that, oh, I don't think Michael is dead. Yeah, right, The Great Forever. If you saw the cover that she used, there was the infinity symbol, the 8, and it was just a plain cover, but the only thing that moved on it were the lights, which formed the 8. And if you turn it on its side, that's infinity. Now you remember at the memorial, he said, I'm alive and I'm here forever. What does infinity mean? It means endless. That means forever. So there's always clues within the clues, be they old or new, borrowed or blue. I know the wedding theme, right? Yeah, so there's all kinds of ways to pick up on things, and in connecting the dots, usually when they do something new, he does something back to back. You'll have one celebrity do something and another, and of course lately these sunflowers have been a running theme, so it's kind of ironic that I've, of all things, stumble on some sunflowers today of all days, and right on it is a monarch butterfly. Now, if that ain't a BAM in my own way, I don't know what is, right? So that's interesting. And then recently also, I posted a video about Janet referring and congratulating this Jack character. Now, somebody said it has something to do with someone else, another performer that she knows, and that's the nickname for them. Well, yeah, okay, that could be. However, I told you guys, there are two of everything. And just because you're talking to one person doesn't necessarily mean you can't be talking for two. This is all coded out. Everything that the Jacksons do, you've got to pay close attention. In the beginning, they talked about Michael in present tense. They were trying to drop hints and clues then, in a very sly way, that the man was still breathing. Now, they didn't come out and say, oh, Michael, whatever. They were like, well, things like, oh, we'll be sure to tell him that, or we're sure that he would really like that when somebody made a comment. And like, they are talking about him like he's still breathing, or like they're about to leave the studio after this interview and go give him the messages and the hugs and the whatever. And I'm like, okay, read in between the lines, people. That's what you do in this. And as I commented to one person, I wasn't trying to be politically correct in saying that she was talking to Jack Crooner. If you look at that, there's a question mark by it, as in maybe. But yeah, go back and listen to that videotape again. And this way she says it, it kind of, you see, and we know who Jack Crooner is, aka Michael Jackson, okay? Some believe he is, some people don't believe he is, but if you look very closely, there's a lot of telltale signs. One, he's wearing that same mask, type of mask, liquid mask that they used in the Ghost video. Nobody's skin is that color. Nobody's skin is that thick. Nobody's chin is that full and thick. Why would a trim man have such a full face? It's about as ridiculous as Dave having the wide shoulders on Larry King Live. I mean, if you're truly paying attention, there's things right in front of your face that are going to tell you that something is not quite right. So it's really not that hard to discern when something isn't quite right. And if something isn't quite right, where there's smoke, there's fire, okay? It's common sense, and we all have eyes to view. So let's get to it. And don't forget to love, listen, observe, view, and evaluate everything you see and hear. And when I say everything, I mean everything, even messages you think are intended for other people, because in the end, they may not be. And there's only one person who has the answers for all that's going on. And when he comes out, I'm pretty sure when the questions are thrown at him, he will be able to clear up everything. But as I told you before, the Halloween special that came out 2.5 years ago, it'll be 3 years this fall, that was very pertinent in this death hoax. And at the end, in the Thriller dance scene, where the two kids who were seeking him out during the course of the show, they were looking for Michael, they finally find him. And while he's dancing and doing his twirls, each time that he turned around, he did a turn, he became another character. And that character was one of the characters that they saw along the way when they were seeking him out. Now, if you connect this to Liberian Girl, now like in Liberian Girl, everybody's walking around looking for Michael. And what is he doing? He's behind the camera and he's watching the whole time. Well, in this case, Michael's watching the whole time, but he's disguised as different characters along the way. So the entire time, Michael was there, just like he was there the entire time during Liberian Girl. And he's watching. He's just watching from behind the camera, Liberian Girl. And when he's on the path that the kids are taking looking for him, he's watching the entire time by being right in front of their face and they're not recognizing him. Why? Because he's wearing a disguise. And that's exactly what he's been doing during the course of this hoax. He's been online with everybody, changing his name, being different character names. That's where the all in his name comes from in the Barry Gibb song that Michael did. That was done on purpose. And of course, Chris Tucker, his best friend, made up a story about him being with Michael at Barry Gibb's house and they were singing and everything. That was done intentionally in his stand-up routine that was recorded on tape that could be viewed online by anybody to lead you to the fact that Michael had a friendship with Barry Gibb and that song had something to do with the death hoax. Same thing with Chris Tucker singing Human Nature. Okay? Everything means something, and I mean everything. So don't discount anything. Don't say, oh, because of this and that can't be. And as far as the children, in the beginning, and still to this day, who people who don't know or don't believe that Michael's alive, say Michael would never do that to his kids. Nothing was done to his kids. He loves his kids. He included them in this. In Paris, has been one of the biggest heavy hitters in giving the clues. That girl has worked her butt off giving clues. From butterflies to spider webs to the Beatles albums and visiting John Lennon's memorial and song titles, green tea for Pearl Jr., named Pearl, everything. Okay? She couldn't be more obvious, and probably the most obvious thing she did was when she went on the Ellen show. Ellen was interviewing her, and Ellen said, "Oh, you want to be an actress, and what is the one thing that you do best?" And she says, "I can cry on cue." And Ellen says, "Well, wow, you must be able to get away with almost anything." Well, yeah, of course, but the hint there was the first time we saw Paris was at the memorial, and what did she do? She cried on cue. She also had an ear piece in her ear, and was fooling around with her purse and this and that. And I guess Daddy was out in the audience sitting next to, who of all people? Chris Tucker, as a blonde woman, giving directives and watching the whole thing. Not behind the scenes, but right on the scene, in disguise, as usual, like he's been the whole time. So we went from the first, him being the blonde woman, and everybody's like, oh no, that's such and such, and blah, 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 blah. Then they thought he was the Hat Man at his own funeral service now. He was actually in the car that the children got dropped off at. I had a videotape where you could just catch him. You have to slow the film down, and he was sitting in the car when they got out at the funeral service. And isn't it ironic that they had all day, people were showing up in the afternoon, but when they actually had the service, it was at night. So why do you think that was? So he could attend and be outside and not be in the sun, because I think having to have an umbrella might be a dead giveaway, right? And he's allergic to the sun or exposure or whatever because of his skin sensitivity. So there's an answer for everything, people. Logical explanations that are totally simpler than you would think. People make things harder than they have to be. I don't know why. Guess that's human nature too, but hey, that's fine. You know, I'm a live and let live person. Everything happens for a reason. Whether you're a believer or not, just like I tell my roommate, he's an old man. He's like 80 years old, this dude. And it's like, this house, oh my God. But he's like, yeah, Michael Jackson, why would anybody fake their death? That's the stupidest thing I ever heard. What's the reason? Blah, blah. He yanks my chain every day. He doesn't believe it. And I says, you know what? Whether you believe it or not, the truth is going to come out when he comes out. And yeah, there's a reason for what he's done. But he is going to come out. And he is going to explain. And I said, you know what? Believe it or not, when it happens, it's going to dominate the media and the news. It'll be the biggest thing that ever happened. And whether you like it or not, there's not a thing you can do to change it. So, with that being said, it's a wait and see, like it always has been. This is my Instagram, and if you're not following me, feel free to follow me. And of course, I am Tina D. And here is a link to my website, steamyhotlatin5.wix.com/bamsday-belie. I need to update my website. I haven't done too much with it lately, but I have kept up with my other social media. I tweet pretty much on a daily basis, news articles, anything about Michael Jackson, the family, the Army of Love, anything related to the death hoax, be it major or minor, major news stories, whatever. I do tweet. I have my own little things I want to talk about, and so you will see that as well. So at Steamy Hot Latin if you want to follow me on Twitter. And I also am the owner of Believe, the Michael Jackson Death Hoax Investigation on Facebook. I post on that daily. All articles, videos, if there's new movie releases and there's something related like the movie Us, which oh my, this has definitely been a year for movies coming and still coming and coming out, and we've had some information prior. So if I were you, I would definitely like that page so you can keep up with the latest. And my Twitter, between my Twitter and my Believe page and my channel, you're not going to miss a trick. I'm on it. I mean, people like Pearl, what have you, she works very hard and tirelessly to bring you pertinent information. It can't be disputed because, it's legal stuff. It's what people are doing, what people are saying, and she verifies things. She works really hard. So I give her kudos and credit for that. I'm an entertainer, and I'm a truther. I like to put the truth out there. I want you to see what's happening in real time. So that's what I do. I don't necessarily go out trying to verify or be politically correct or anything. I'm just showing you what's out there on a day-to-day basis, and I do keep up with it. So whoever's doing what, I'm going to let you know. And I also make my own videos. Some are highly informative, you have to read, and others are strictly entertainment. Just sit back, press play, and watch, and I'm going to give you the best show you've ever seen if I can. So I wanted to let you guys know that. And I thought I would address you today on this day being Michael Jackson's birthday. I am a fan. I've been a fan for life. I've been a fan since the early days. I'm a lot older than I look. I don't need necessarily to disclose my age, but I've been around a long time, and I've been a fan since the Jackson 5 days, and oh my gosh, watched after school specials, share everything as it was happening. So I go back a long way, and I've had run ins with Michael. Oh my gosh, my first record, my first concert, everything was the Jackson 5, and I've seen them in downtown Cleveland on a parade float. I've seen them at the Front Row Theater in the Round. I've seen Janet perform her very first routines when she and Randy did a Mae West routine, which was very cute. And boy, has she come a long way. Wow. Who knew? Who knew back then? But she looked really cute in her evening gowns and boa, strutting across the stage and talking about how she calls her lover boy. So, yeah, that was really funny. And my grandmother actually took my sister, who looked like Janet, to the concert. She didn't want to go, and then when I was going with my other brother and sister, they're younger than me, and we got dropped off, all of a sudden she wanted to go. And what happens? My grandmother comes inside, gets canceled tickets, and it's right down front. And my grandmother and my sister Tanya ended up sitting right behind Katherine Jackson and Janet Jackson. Of all the luck. And of course, Michael and them were coming down the aisles, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I was so upset because it should have been me down there, you know? I'm like, I was the one that wanted to go in the first place. But hey, you know, that's just the way the ball bounces sometimes. So my sister has passed. She passed in 1999, so rest in peace, Tanya. But anyway, can't believe that I've come this far, and I've known about Michael Jackson like, whew, my whole life. He's been in my life my whole life. So I'm dedicated. I'm passionate about the subject. Um, can't believe that this has happened. This is just mind blowing. You think you know somebody. I feel like he's family because he's been in my life my entire life, you know, like my brothers and sisters, the whole journey. And I know, like, my grandmother was really strict, and I talk about her a lot because I lived with her. I chose to live with her. I'm the oldest of six, and I just couldn't handle being in the house with six kids. It drove me nuts. So I voluntarily went to live with my grandmother, who was an older lady and didn't have any other children in the house. So I was kind of raised like an only